depending on where you're from. And these are the prime or primo canes that have come up above the Floricaines, which as you can see are loaded with fruit. These primo canes are going to produce a little bit this year, but typically the majority of their production will come the second year, starting in the springtime of next year. So these are first year primo canes. Fruit comes in on the second year. What you want to do is to try and increase your yield, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And if you'll look real close, you can see that I've made a tip cut on this cane, as I have with many of them, and you start to get side growth coming out. There's 6 or 7, maybe even 8 pieces of side growth that have come out on this cane, and so some this year, but mostly next year, this thing will produce like mad. You can triple your harvest just by taking tip cuttings. So you can see this cane here is about 4 feet high. I'll let it grow up another foot because I'm growing in such a sturdy trellis type of situation. If you were just growing where you had wires supporting your your prime canes, then you might want to cut them a lot lower so that they can stand up to the weight that you're going to add to the prime cane, because these things will bend over and fall to the ground if you're not careful. So the less support you have, the lower you'll want to cut them to the ground when you tip prune them. So in a wired situation, let them grow to 4 feet, cut them back to 3 feet. As you can see, some of these have been cut where they've just been a tip cutting. You can see they're much smaller in diameter here as opposed to this other cane that was much bigger, like this one here. And so we'll get them all cut as evenly as possible back to about, let me step down here, about my chest high is 5 feet or so, 5.5 feet. These will produce a lot of berries this next season. So I want to take you down the row and we'll take a tip pruning for you. Because our row is about 35 feet long, we have a lot of plants here. So I'll be digging up plants. My friend who's behind the camera, Todd Gamble, will also be digging up a lot of plants. We'll have them for sale. This, as you can see, is a thorned variety. Everybody has their own opinion. Quite honestly, I think the thorned varieties produce bigger, better fruit. They're a little harder to work with because they're thorned, and sometimes, you know, they get you, so make sure you wear gloves. But today, in just tip cutting, I won't need to wear gloves. Anyway, here we go. Down the aisle, there's a few. As you can see, I've cut most of these. There's a few that need to be cut here down on the end, and you'll get a bird's eye view of exactly what we do. Now here's one here, and again, it's about 5 feet tall. I'm going to take it down about this much. Now what's going to happen again is, like on this one back here, you're going to get a lot of new side growth, and that's where the berries are coming from. Look at this, we're already getting side growth. Maybe it's because it knew it was going to get cut that it started producing that side growth yesterday. Anyhow, lots of berries, lots of tip pruning, like so, like so, and we got one more here. I'll cut this guy back a couple inches. Now there's some things to keep in mind when you're growing your berries. through the season. Some people get confused as to what canes to cut out in the wintertime, the fall or the winter months. If you want to do something as simple as take a twist tie and put it on one of your prime canes that is going to provide you with fruit next season, you'll know not to cut this one. Just twist a little twist or two just so that it kind of stays there, and then that way you'll know not to cut that one out next year. But typically blackberries will show you that they're dead and that you need to cut them out. Per plant, that is, per plant you know you've planted, you should always have at least 3 to 6 canes left after pruning. So prune down to 3 to 6 canes. In my case, if I were to prune down to 6 canes, I'd have 180 canes here because I've got 30 some plants. So I'll prune each plant back to just 3 canes and I'll still have plenty of fruit. So there you go. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section in YouTube or in Facebook, and I'll be glad to help you out. Thanks a lot for visiting. We'll see you again soon.